right, so now we're ready to move on to composition number 3. So you're going to go ahead and create a new comp, and you can call it 3 if you want. Let me just open my one that's already complete so I can show you what we're going to be doing here. So in this particular composition, we're going to be looking at how you can use simple masks and adjustment layers to create color manipulation, portions of your video composition here. And there's, various cool things you can do with this. So let me go ahead and adjust this to fit, and I'll go ahead and run through this so you can see. My computer's having a little bit of a lag here, so we'll just let a little bit of this render. This is kind of what it looks like. So how do we create these kind of cool shapes with these different manipulations using an adjustment layer? So what we're going to do is go ahead and start a new composition. Now, if you're finding that these are really getting kind of slow on your machine, feel free to change this from 1920 by 1080. You could do 720 by 1280 if you want, which will, have your system not have to process so much because the canvas is smaller. And then we'll just leave this duration at 4 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new composition here, and I want you to find the surfer asset and go ahead and drag that down onto the timeline. So here we have our surfer, looking out into the ocean, and he looks very reflective in this moment. All right, so we're going to create adjustment layers, and if you're familiar with this in Photoshop, it's the same exact thing in After Effects. You can apply effects to an adjustment layer instead of applying them to your video. And what's cool about that is if you do want to use masks or anything like that, you have that freedom. You have all of the different effects on different layers. So let's go ahead and get started. First, you're going to go to Layer New, and this time you're going to choose an adjustment layer. So there's our adjustment layer. Cool. Now the filters I'm going to have you work with on this are in the color correction section. And so, okay, so the effect that we're going to use is in the animation presets, and it's in Image Creative. So if you go in there, you're going to see all these color grading presets that are there. And the first one we're going to use is Sepia. Whoops, I'm in the wrong composition. So we're going to go into Image Creative. We've got Sepia here, and I want you to go ahead and apply that to your adjustment layer, and you're going to see this nice sepia tone kind of covering over all that footage. Well, we want to only have that on a certain area that's a rectangle shape, let's say, and then we want to animate it moving across. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my rectangle tool and make sure you have adjustment layer selected, and all you're going to do is draw a rectangle, and it's going to create an automatic mask for you. That was pretty simple, right? And then all we need to do in terms of animating this is, let's see here. Go ahead and have the adjustment layer selected and hit the P key for position. What you can do here is actually you can animate the mask path to do different things, various things on the video, and you can do that just by simply starting the time clock toggle. Make sure you're at the beginning of your timeline. And there's a couple of different ways that you can move this mask around. I don't really care, yours doesn't have to look like mine by any means, but what you're going to see is something that you're kind of used to seeing in Illustrator with these different anchor points, and you can move these individually. So if you click on the individual boxes, you can move them individually like that. I'm going to go ahead and Command Z that, or I can Shift select all of these and move them all at once. So I have a keyframe dropped here. I'm just going to go ahead and move this. I'm just going to move this over off the screen, and I didn't move my timeline, so that's actually not going to work. So let me just do that again. So I'm going to move forward, let's say till about almost 2 seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the anchor point and move that over And this should be animated now. There we go. Okay, perfect. So now I am going to go ahead and do another one. Let's see, let's do a new adjustment layer. And this time I'm going to choose Moon Shadows, which kind of creates a cool template of palette of like purples and blues. So there's that. This time I'm going to select my ellipse tool, and I'm just going to draw a circle on this footage wherever I want. There we go. And there we have our circle graphic shape going over the video. Now, this one, I'm not going to animate the path necessarily. I'm just going to animate the entire position of the layer. So there's kind of two different ways you can approach that. And depending on, you know, what it is that you need to do, one's going to work better than the other in a given certain, you know, situation. So, let's see. And also I need to be naming my layers because things get confusing pretty fast. So this needs to be sepia, and this needs to be, we'll just call it moon, because I know it's for moon shadows. Okay, so for moon, I'm going to hit the P key and pop my position toggle up here. And I know that I want this to be off screen, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my selection tool. I still have my ellipse tool selected. I want to go ahead and grab my selection tool, and then I can just move this off screen. There you go. And by the way, if you need a reminder about this canvas window, you can scroll in and out to make it bigger or smaller, and then you can also adjust it right here. And I oftentimes will work with my canvas smaller because I'm working with things off screen that are coming in and out of the frame. So anyway, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and click position on. And then what I want this circle to do is come down and then make a sharp, hard turn and then go off the screen. So I want it to be very like, very geometric in its movement. So here we go. I'm going to go down to about 2 seconds, and I'm going to pull the graphic down. And this is a little bit crooked here, so you can always go back and adjust your path. I probably should have changed the anchor point on my circle, but that's okay for what we're doing right now. Okay, so then the next movement I want it to do is to move off screen this way. Now look, I have a problem because I want this to be very geometric. The way the animation is going, it's a very rounded path, and that's not really what I'm wanting to do for this particular graphic. So what you can do is you can go to the pen tool up here and select your convert vertex tool. This is just like Illustrator. And I'm going to click it, and it's going to give me that clean cut corner when it comes down and animates over. Okay, so cool. So that layer is all done. And so let's go ahead and do one more. So layer, adjustment layer, and I'm going to do this one and have it go a little bit crazy because I'm going to show you how to animate the mask with the different anchor points moving in different times. So we're not going to retain a super geometric shape. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, let's see, I'm not sure. Okay, so I went ahead and applied blue wash to that adjustment layer, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this layer blue. And so you can always see what the effect is doing, by the way, to your layer. If you toggle the effects on and off here, you can see how it's changing and manipulating. But anyways, so for blue, I am going to go ahead and go back to the rectangle tool, or maybe I'll actually do the star tool. So yeah, I don't know. Why not use the star tool? So I'm going to go ahead and drag this and place it somewhere. Let's say maybe here. I'll start it here. And let's say I don't really want this to start until we get to 2 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that over. And then for the mask itself, I'm going to go ahead and toggle on the clock for the mask path. And I'm going to go ahead and manipulate that so that it kind of moves in a whole bunch of directions. So I'm going to have it move around for 1 second to here, and then I'll change the movement after that. So if I go in here, now if all of those are selected and you can't figure out like you're trying to click them and they're staying all selected, all these anchor points, you just need to click inside of the path, okay? And then you'll get these little dots where you can individually manipulate these. So I guess for my first move, I'm just going to take all these and have them shoot out over time. So let's see what that's looking like. Okay, cool. And then maybe for the last bit of it, I'll go in and just have this open up all the way over the whole canvas. All right, so yeah, so that's looking fairly cool, I guess. Now you can do anything on an adjustment layer. You can do any of the effects and presets. I just did you know, color grading because that's what I picked for this particular video clip, but you could do any effect, okay? So that concludes this little task. So we're going to go to composition, add to render queue, and go ahead and render that out. And this is technically 3. It doesn't look like I named my composition, which is not good. So now I've got 1, 2, and number 3 going into my folder of final exports. And then I'm going to come back in here because I'm very organized, and I'm going to rename my composition 3 because that's what it is. It goes with 3. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Let me go ahead and shut these and get number 4 opened up. So this one, I'm going to show you how you can use just a stock image file to make some kind of cool graphics, animations out of just a photograph. Let's see. What I want you to do is go ahead and start a new composition like always. This composition could be a little bit, let's make it shorter, like 3 seconds. Hit OK, and then the asset I want you to bring in is this color text stock photo. So go ahead and bring that into your composition and then hit your S key. We're going to go ahead and scale that down so that we can see what's going on here. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is make this circle graphic that I have going right here. So what we're going to do is in your effects and presets, I want you to search for something called cylinder, and you're going to see CC cylinder here. You're going to go ahead and drag and drop that to your layer. And when you go up to the CC cylinder options, you're going to see different options for position and rotation. And so you can actually turn this on the XYZ axis. And what we're looking for, I'm sorry, actually what we want is this rotation of XYZ. And so I can never, yes, we want to rotate the X and go ahead and put it in at 90% to get a nice, we have the same thickness throughout the circle. It's not angled in any way. So cool. So that is that rotation, and then we want to keyframe it to rotate around, which is going to be the Z rotation. So we're going to keyframe that. So let's go ahead and toggle on the time clock here for rotation Z. We're going to go down to the end of the composition timeline, and what you can do is just type in like 5 here. So it'll rotate 5 times over the time of the timeline. So let's take a look. Oh, it's amazing. All right, great. So now we're going to use CC cylinder again to create a repeating dropping wall here. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and scale this layer up a little bit so that it is fitting over. There we go, just like that. And let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that asset down again. And I know they want this behind, so I'm going to put it down below, and we're going to scale the image down again. And then we're going to apply CC cylinder to this once again. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to have this make it into the background. Now you can see this image specifically will work for something like this because it's a bunch of stripe slats. So, I mean, you could do this to any image, but it depends on how the image looks. and how you're going to manipulate that. But anyway, so basically, like, this can be a fairly seamless pattern. You can see there's a little bit of a mistake here with the blue and the green meeting together, but it's really hard. I mean, you can't, no one would ever notice that. So, and then also, just so you know, you do have manipulations here where you can play around with the shading on the cylinder and stuff like that. So depending on what it is that you're doing, you can make lots of adjustments there. Maybe we'll change the light color on the background just so you can see that. So anyways, okay, so for the rotation here, I believe it's Y that we want to, nope, that's what we want to animate. So let's see. Nope, that's not it either. So rotation Z, yes, here we go. Okay, so go ahead and rotate Z by 90 degrees. And then I am going to scale this up so that it's covering the whole composition, just like that. So it should be going over. And then we're going to animate the Y rotation this time. So, and it looks like it's going to animate going up, which is fine. Unless we go, I actually want them to be coming down. So what I'm going to do is, let's zero this out first. So at the beginning of the timeline, I'm going to go ahead and toggle on the clock for Y, and then I'm going to go forward to the end. And for this, I'm going to say -5, which means that it should go backwards and the slats should be coming down. I could also just rotate the cylinder so that it's doing what I want, but let's see. Yep, that's looking perfect. And so let's say I wanted to just put a video in between these two layers, just for practice sake. Go ahead and take this room video asset and drop it down in between the two. And then all we're going to do is come into this ellipse tool here, and we're just going to make a mask for that video layer. And you can use your arrow keys to adjust the masks. I'm just going to get it centered a little bit better on there. Now we have this really cool kind of graphic and geometric pattern with the cylinder tool, and then we've got a video composited in between that. So all good fun. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and add this to the render queue and render that out into your folder, okay? And then I didn't name my comp 4. I should have, so I'll fix that in just a minute. But anyways, this is task number 4, so go ahead and save. Gonna render it out. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this composition, and I'm going to rename it 4 because I'm staying organized. And so you'll want to do this when you like come up with your idea and draw out your initial storyboard. You know, I teach this in pre-production, but I'd say for every shot or scene, there should be a separate folder with the composition and the assets. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how you can use oh, by the way, if you ever want to clear out your render queue, all you have to do is highlight these and delete them. So if that's filling up and it's kind of bothering you, that's how you get rid of that.